I think if the underworld had a club, this is the music that it would play. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I am Molly, and in this video I am going to be reacting to the album Wisconsin Death Trip from the band staticx. Now this has definitely been one of my most requested albums for a while now. A lot of you have been suggesting this one down in the comments on my other videos. I don't know anything about Wisconsin Death Trip. I think it's a nu metal album, but I could be wrong on that. I'm not 100% sure of the genre. So yeah, I have no idea what I'm in for, no clue what this album is going to sound like. I just know I'm really excited to hear it, so let's dive right into my reaction to Wisconsin Death Trip. Alright, so getting this album started, we have track 1 called Push It. Alright, so right off the bat we have a really driving beat going on here. Yeah, there's a really heavy, dense sound to this song. For some reason, this track is giving me like Rob Zombie vibes a little bit. Dragula, kind of similar to that sound. The vocals are really interesting on this one. On one hand, sometimes they sound really intense and deep and growly, but then there's like some little borderline melodic moments too, where the vocals are a little bit lighter and softer. That was track 1, Push It. I really liked the almost like staccato rhythm that one had. It was very sharp and precise with its beat. But yeah, a very thunderous, heavy, kind of industrial sounding start to this album. And I'm going to move on to track 2 called I'm With Stupid. That background instrumentation is interesting. It kind of gives this track a little bit of a light sound.
So I grabbed my shovel. And I beat him in the skull and took him down.
That woman's voice that's kind of distorted is weird. They keep like injecting it at weird moments onto this song. This song is really fun to listen to. It has this really cool rhythm to it, and then they keep introducing these really bizarre sounds.
Very stupid.
That was track 2, I'm With Stupid. I think what I enjoyed the most about that song was all of the weird sounding instrumentation that they would throw on that one from time to time. It almost lightened the track up a little bit. It had this really dense industrial sound to it, kind of like the first track, Push It, but they just added that little infusion of funky instrumentation going on that just added something really unique to that song. And up next we have track 3 called Bled for Days. I love all of these tracks have such a great rhythm to them. It's like really sharp and quick. I just love the flow of this song. It's great. There's those 2 sets of vocals again. I really still can't tell if it's 2 singers. Oh yeah, I like this electronic sound toward the end here. Track 3, Bled for Days. I absolutely loved the really driving rhythm of that one. Also at the beginning and the end, that little like electronic sounding addition to the song was really cool. Kind of gave it a futuristic sound. It almost had like Broken vibes from Nine Inch Nails. The kind of that combined with Rob Zombie is the vibe I'm getting from this album so far. Really cool. There's kind of like some very strong industrial elements for sure to the sound of this one. It just has this really awesome, heavy, dense quality to it. All right, moving on to track 4, we have Love Dump.
I can't believe I'm letting you do this to me.
Okay, so they're building it up. They've got this great rhythm added back in. I've always loved you. I love this really driving beat to all of their songs.
I can't believe I'm letting you do this to me.
They like doing that. They like interrupting the song with those female vocals talking. It's definitely adding a unique element to this album. That was track 4, Love Dump. Almost a atmospheric, cinematic sound to that one, especially with how it started. And then they introduced that awesome beat with the percussion and everything, just that driving rhythm that they're carrying through this whole album. But I'm going to move on now to track 5 called I Am. I just love that really dense, growly sound to the vocals. It just makes the song sound so heavy. There's something very unique sounding about the guitar on this whole album so far. It has this really deep, dense sound to it. Track 5, I Am. I loved just that really dark tonal quality, just kind of weighing it down. There's just a heaviness that this album has that's awesome. But moving on to track 6, we have Otsegolation, if I'm saying that right. Really cool start to this one. Again, very cinematic. It sounds like it could be in a film or something. The lyrics are definitely clearer on this one. There's a little bit less of that growly nature to them. Yeah, this guitar has such a unique tone to it. It's got this kind of scratchy, distorted sound. It's giving it kind of a little industrial flair almost. That was track 6, Otsegolation. Again, if I'm saying that right. I love how that one started out so atmospherically. Like I said, it sounded like it could be in a movie soundtrack. It just had that really cinematic quality to it. And then it just brought in that awesome flow, that beat to it. I'm loving the really quirky sounding industrial instrumentation too. They're just fusing all of that really well on this album. Okay, and up next is track 7 called Stem. Sounds like some crickets chirping. Wow, this is a really cool start. I'm loving all of the atmospheric stuff they're putting on this album. This track is a little bit more slowed down compared to some of the other ones, but they've still got that great rhythmic pattern going on. This track is so funky. I love it. Okay, and stem kind of just flowed right into the next track, so I'm going to pause it real fast. That was track 7 though, stem. I loved the atmospheric, really ambient sound that one had, especially toward the start and the end. And it was a little bit more restrained compared to some of the other tracks on this album, a little bit more slowed down. They still had that great heavy instrumentation though. They just kind of did it in a more electronic, really smooth sounding way, which I really enjoyed. That's probably one of my favorites, I think, so far on this album. But I'm going to just continue on now with track 8 called Sweat of the Bud. Sounds like an airplane engine revving up. Oh yeah, here's that awesome guitar coming in again. This whole album is so intensely groovy. It's amazing. Those vocals. Now there's some screaming, I think, in the background. I think if the underworld had a club, this is the music that it would play. It's like so demented and dark, but yet it's so danceable at the same time. There's just a great grooviness to it. Well, that was track 8, Sweat of the Bud, almost a continuation of the previous track, Stem. It almost sounded to me like those were one track kind of spliced up into 2 individual tracks. I absolutely loved Sweat of the Bud, though. That track was so weirdly danceable, and it had a great rhythm to it, but then with the vocals and those guitars, there was also just such a driving density to the sound of it, too. Alright, and up next we have track 9 called Fix. I love all of their infusions of these sounds. See, we just had those melodic vocals there, and now we've got these really screaming, intense vocals again. I don't know if it's the same person or not. Track 9, Fix, again, had that great heaviness to it. I really like, though, how they're infusing those little bursts of ambient stuff or electronic sounding stuff on, because as awesome as their really heavy, dense, more metal sound is, it can kind of get a little bit repetitive, and when they infuse those little sounds on, it just makes it really interesting to listen to. It kind of throws on a new sound. And then up next is track 10, which is the title track, Wisconsin Death Trip. What is that sound? It's like a quirky little electronic warble. Get up on this Wisconsin Death Trip. I wonder what the significance of that is. Like why the album is called that. I can definitely feel the motion. This song has such a great flow to it. I've got to say, I think the more this album goes on, the more I'm enjoying it. I don't know, I'm loving these little sounds that they're infusing on. That was track 10, the title track, Wisconsin Death Trip. I absolutely loved the cool sounds and atmospheric things they were just infusing at times throughout that one. There's like a really cool futuristic sound that this album has. Okay, moving on to track 11, we have the Trance Is the Motion. You see what I mean? This could be like a science fiction movie soundtrack. Those electronic sounds that they're keeping in the background, I think are so cool. You wouldn't think to pair that sound with these just heavy, raw instrumentals, but it works really, really well. There's still such a grooviness to this track, though, even though it's way more restrained and pulled in. Track 11, The Trance Is the Motion. That one was amazing. I loved that song. Super atmospheric. There was this really drawn in, kind of slowly building up sound that it had. Really futuristic and electronic too. I loved all of the electronic elements that they were throwing on that one. But moving on now to the final track on Wisconsin Death Trip, we have track 12 called December. Yeah, there's something so smooth about the sound of this album. It just is so cinematic in its sound. I love it. Alright, this track is slowly building up. Okay, here we go with some percussion now. This is a very different sounding track from the rest of this album. It's almost more uplifting sounding or natural sounding. That percussion is so intense. It's just so big with its sound. It's got this great echoiness to it. And then it's just ending with this really intense, like, white noise. Well, that was track 12, December. Very interesting end to this album. I would say that was probably the most restrained, calm, pulled in song on this entire album. The vocals stayed kind of whispery and really soft. They didn't have as much of that intensity to them. And there was something kind of calm and relaxing about that track until the end there, where they started incorporating those really distorted female vocals talking, and then how that white noise came in toward the end, like all of that staticky distortion sound. Something kind of unsettling about the end of that track. So that is going to conclude my reaction to Wisconsin Death Trip, the debut studio album from the band staticx. This one was really such a ride to listen to. I loved all of the different sounds that they incorporated on this one. The really cinematic nature of this album paired with the really dense driving instrumentals and vocals, it just made for a very dynamic listen. Track 7, Stem, into track 8, Sweat of the Bud, might be the highlight of this album for me. How they flowed from one into the next. They had all of those cool futuristic elements going on. And then track 10, the title track, Wisconsin Death Trip, also might be my favorite. It's hard to pick. That one had such a grooviness to it, very danceable, like it could have played in a club and it would have fit in with the soundtrack. And track 11, The Trance Is the Motion, was also a standout for me. I absolutely loved that one. But be sure to let me know down in the comments what you think of Wisconsin Death Trip, if there's anything else from staticx that I should check out. And yeah, as usual, thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned, and I will see you in the next video.